We're waiting for this to get started. It's saying live video is started. We are live now, it says. Okay,
Okay.
so hopefully we are really live. Um, and then let me get to the gardening tips group. Why is it not taking me to the group? Okay, my screens are doing something weird that I don't really want them to do. Oh, I see what it's doing. Okay, I figured it out now. Okay, now I know what I'm doing. Oh, have you ever been in a situation where you're just not sure what you're doing? Okay, let me do the introduction. We are Gardening Tips Live, and it is August 23rd, 2025. My name is Amy Hahn, and let's see, I'm trying to find the video. I am joined by my friends and fellow Knox County Master Gardeners, Margot Emery and Brian Townsend. And
Good
Morning,
morning.
everyone.
it says we are live now. I'm going to pin it to featured so that folks can find us a little bit easier. And I'm also going to say, oh, and I want to pin it to the top of featured, make it easier for you all to find us, because right now it's not at the top of featured. It's second in featured. We just started doing this a new process about 3 weeks ago. So we're still figuring it out. Um, but it is a nice morning. We're starting to have cooler mornings, and I really appreciate that because the hot mornings are hot. Um,
Yeah,
if you want to make any comments, I'm going to do at everyone also. Or I wonder if, okay, at everyone, members received notifications, and it's not all the members, but yeah, no, it is what it is. So if you have any any questions you want us to answer while we're doing this, you can type them into the comments and we will do our best to respond to them. And yes, I'm just making sure all the background stuff is working right. It is a good week. And I'm going to turn my volume off so that you all don't hear double me, because one of me is usually enough. Oh, so what is it? I heard last week went well with the show, and I was at the Hummingbird Fest at Imes Nature Center. If you don't know about them, they have tons of really good resources and activities. They do nighttime spider hunts and owl hunts, which are not literally hunting, but you're trying to find them and what is it? Figure out where they are and who they are. And they definitely have hummingbirds. So they do a lot of um, nature and horticultural stuff. They have a lot of native plants there and some non-natives, which they do fight to some degree. But it is just a wonderful place to go hiking and on the river.
and if you're adventurous, they have Navitat, which is in the trees, ropes and
Oh
obstacles.
yeah.
And I've done it once, and it was a blast. I was scared. I want to go back
Uh,
and do more of it, but it was a blast.
yeah, and so there were a lot of volunteers at Hummingbird Fest, and so one of the volunteers who just happens to be a Knox County Master Gardener, Carol Bell, was there, and she had a friend. You see that really cute butterfly decided to tag along with her, and he stayed with her something like a half an hour. It was really cool. Oh, Brenda, glad you can join us. Um, let's see, she's doing well with her houseplants. Yay! Um,
There's no place for houseplants, though, and that's the dilemma at this time of year.
oh, okay. Yep. And so, what is it? Her garden didn't fare as well. You know what? Some things in my garden didn't do really well either. And we'll talk about that a little bit. as we go forward. Some things did really well, and some things have done really bad, really poorly this year. Okay. Speaking of things that did well, the mourning doves did really well. I think we have mourning dove mama who is doing her nest in a 5-inch pot that's sitting on a plant shelf on my patio. And this is the chicks from her third clutch. And so they were just hanging out in the shade of one of our bird feeders. Aren't they cute? They sort
Aw.
they sort of have this cute, clueless look, and every so often Mama would come by and feed them, and so they're really cute. But these are just fledged. We're not seeing them anymore because they've gone a little bit further out now. One thing we're seeing in some damp areas is we're starting to see some mushrooms coming up. It's fine to touch mushrooms. You can touch them, you can look at them, you can break them apart. Um, just unless you have a positive identification, so from someone who really knows their stuff, um, don't eat them. There are quite a few mushrooms in our in Tennessee that are really toxic and like destroying your liver toxic. And so, just look at them, enjoy them. Here's another really cute, like little teeny tiny mushrooms. Um, but you can look at them, you can examine them. If you have dogs that eat them, you really might want to pull them. Pull them. The mushrooms are actually a sign of a really healthy landscape with a lot of good mycorrhizae, um, fungal network in the soil. And you can think of the mushrooms like the flowers of that mycorrhizal network. And so you can pick the flowers. It's not going to hurt that mushroom, that network that's the mushrooms, but um, what is it? What am I trying to say? It's not going to hurt it. It's a good sign for your landscape. So you really don't want to kill that network. And you can leave them if you don't have a reason. Yeah, Brian.
Along with what you're saying right there, I believe it's a good comment that if it bothers you, the mushroom head that's above the your garden or your lawn and stuff like that, go ahead and kick it over, knock it down.
Hmm.
It will disintegrate
Yeah,
over a day, but like Miss Amy is saying, it does not have any effect to the rest of the network.
right. The other thing is if you've been handling a mushroom, it is a good idea to wash your hands before you like touch your face or your eyes or eat something. Just a
Right.
good, it's just cautious.
Right. Yes.
Yeah, but mushrooms are so cool to look at. They really are. Very interesting to look at.
I agree with it. Just don't
Mhm.
eat them,
Right, just don't eat them unless you have someone who really knows mushrooms. Um,
including
my
those. You don't eat those either.
right. Oh, well,
Meh.
Brian doesn't like mushrooms, but I like the edible mushroom. I've never done wild edible mushrooms, but I do like mushrooms. My dad had a saying that's not his. What is it? There are old mushroom hunters, there are bold mushroom hunters, but there are no old, bold mushroom hunters. So, yeah.
Oh,
So that's, and that's, just a word of caution, but they are so cool to look at. Okay, another thing that you can get really panicked about, but I usually don't. This is a tomato hornworm, or this might be a tobacco hornworm. They look very, very similar, and they both eat tomato leaves and pepper leaves, the Solanaceae family. And also, is tobacco in the Solanaceae family? I don't think so, but they eat that family too. Um, this one is pretty much done eating at this point. And so it's gonna turn into a really interesting cocoon. They are sphinx moths, so they're really pretty big moth butter, flying insects, and you really rarely see the adults. Another sphinx moth is actually the hummingbird moth, which has clear wings. And I know there's pictures posted of that in the group. So, but these guys, this one is just about done with his eating. I'm going to leave him alone. Um, one thing you can see sometimes is white cocoons hanging off of them. And if you see white cocoons hanging off of them, definitely don't destroy them. The white cocoons are actually a parasite that eats the hornworms. Uh, the other reason you might want to take them off is if you had a lot of them and they were taking off all the foliage of your plant at this time in the season, you might want to take them off. If you are having issues with it earlier in the season, you can actually go out with a UV light. They're called pet spotter lights, is the easiest kind to find. And they glow like pink purple in UV light. So if you go out at night, you can really find them and take care of them young. They are almost impossible to see. They really blend in when they're young. So those pet spotter lights, if you do have a significant problem. I have never had a significant problem, but I'm a tomato farmer tomato gardener, who doesn't prune their tomatoes. So I've got excess foliage. So it does depend on your situation. Um, I did look for it when I saw these stems without leaves. And I was like, that is my clue that there's a hornworm. So here's just a picture of his face. Another place I saw stems without leaves is my parsley. And so I'd seen some really young caterpillars early on, and I hadn't seen any in a bit. So I had figured the birds on my deck had eaten them. But here's a few that made it through the birds. These are probably bigger than the birds will get. These are the caterpillars of the black swallowtail butterfly. And they eat parsley, carrot, dill, fennel, that family of plants, the umbral family. And so, and they're pretty big, so they're not going to be eating for very much longer. I don't know if this parsley plant will probably survive. It'll have enough time to recover, but the butterflies are just so beautiful, and I definitely want to support those. So I'm not going to do anything to disturb these caterpillars.
I'm reading that
Hmm?
the young caterpillars are called parsley worms. I'd never heard of that term.
Mm. Yeah, I've heard that before. I forgot about it. Yeah. When they're young, they look like a little bit of a bird dropping. And there's a lot of caterpillars who, when they're really young, they look like bird droppings. And as they get bigger, they'll molt and grow bigger and they look different. Okay, this is my basil. It had been looking really nice, but now that we've had a spell that's a little bit wetter and cooler, I'm seeing basil downy mildew showing up again. Um, if I get the gung ho, I will probably cut out the leaves that are spotted, and that'll help remove some of the pathogen, some of the disease. So to have a disease show itself, you have to have a plant that's susceptible. And if you look back here, you can see this other basil plant. It doesn't have, when I look down on it, it doesn't have any signs, but they're different varieties. And so some varieties are more susceptible to that basil downy mildew. And like my Thai basil, it's not susceptible to it at all, any of the Thai basils. But I could remove the plant. You have to have the pathogen, you have to have a susceptible plant, and you have to have a favorable environment. So when we were up in the 90s every day and not very much rain, that was not a favorable environment for this pathogen. But now that we're having um, slightly cooler temperatures, it's more favorable to that pathogen, that disease. And so it's showing up. Um, and it really, what is it? It makes me want to harvest all my basil that I want to dry for storage or make pesto out of and freeze. I tried to do that early in the season because I know later in the season, sometimes the basil downy mildew can really take my basil out.
My
Okay.
cousin lives in Virginia, and
Hmm.
there the basil downy mildew has just been devastating, and
Oh,
they have
yeah.
a hard time growing basil. So they've been getting the resistant seeds of the new
Hmm.
cultivars from research programs and planting them.
Yeah. Yeah. Some areas of the country have it harder than we do. Um, but we get hot enough and dry enough usually that during most of the summer, it's not an issue. But as we move into the cooler temperatures of, late October into September, then it really hits hard.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is my cucumber plants, and ignore the bags of leaves. I just didn't have a better place to put them. Those are from last year, and some of them are actually bags of weeds that I'm solarizing to kill them before I put them in my compost. Um, Different people handle that differently. I try not to send anything to the landfill, any plant materials to the landfill. Um, but what is it? You get to choose your own adventure on that one. Okay, so this is my cucumber plants. They are three different, well, two different varieties and one that's a mixture of varieties. And what is it? They're all getting hit by cucurbit downy mildew, which is actually a different pathogen than the basil downy mildew. And so they're looking really rough, but off of this row, I would say I probably picked, well, I don't have to guess. I am a little crazy and I actually weigh my harvest and write it down. You don't have to do that. Um, okay, so I picked 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, probably 8 pounds of cucumbers off this row this past week. And it is a 16-foot row. Um, and so it's still producing quite well, even though it looks really rough. So here is some of what it's doing. And this is actually the end where it's looking the worst, but it's making new cucumbers. And some of the newer foliage is actually looking better. Um, what is it? Cucurbit downy mildew, I think what is it? It is favored by a little bit hotter temperatures than the basil downy mildew. So it's actually not doing as well now that we're cooling down a bit, or the cucumber plant is just growing faster. I'm not sure which. So I'm still having cucumbers coming, so I'm not going to tear my plants out yet. There will be a point when they're not producing and I will tear them out. And depending on the variety you have, you might be past that point already. Okay. This is my lone squash plant that is still alive. I had four of them initially, and so this is the only one that's making it. I did not have a good squash year this year. This is a zucchini squash called Goldini. It's a cultivar a variety that was specially bred by a lady named Carol Deppy, who's pretty well known in the plant breeding for resilience and home gardeners. And so this is actually a yellow squash that is supposed to that tastes really good up to like over a pound. Um, so you can let it get to, quite a large squash and it doesn't have big seeds in it, even at that point. Um, so you can get more food for your effort. It also tastes really good dehydrated. And so she talked about reading about the Native Americans and that they would dehydrate squash and use them for soup. And she tried it with some of the squash varieties that were available, and it just didn't taste good. And that didn't add up for her. So she actually worked on some plant breeding. That's one of her hobbies, and came up and was able to create this variety that actually tastes really good, fresh, dried, um, in soups. The flowers are good so it's a multi-purpose.
Is it open pollinated, Amy?
Yes, it is
So you
open
can save the
pollinated.
seeds.
And the one I have is actually Goldini too. She went through some health issues and lost what I understand is that original strain of Goldini was lost, but she was able to restore it from her, what is it, stock of seeds from crosses that she'd made. And so if it is the only pepo squash you grow, and that's one of the species of squashes we grow, you can save your own seed from it. So that is really interesting. Okay, let's see. This is my beans. So I have, there's a section that's green beans, and you can see there's almost no leaves on it. My green beans have not done well this year. But this is my southern peas, a variety called whippoorwill, and they've done pretty well and have a lot of pods on them. These are actually the first pods the green beans have had this year. I did some studying on it, and above about 85 degrees, the regular green beans or snap beans tend to drop their flowers. I do understand from the market farmers that some of the bush beans are a little more resilient to that. And so they actually got some bush beans, but the pole beans have not done well this year. It's just been too hot for them. So I should get some fall beans, and I should get enough. Um, these are a variety called Roger Newsom, and they taste really good, and they're really good as a dried bean also. So they're good in the green form, snap form, and as a dried bean. But I probably won't have enough of a crop to eat them as green beans this year. So I will probably let these all go to uh, dry out to make seed, and also um, for dried beans if I get too much.
You've had a problem with those in the past crossing with other
Yeah,
beans. Did you
right.
encounter that this year?
I don't know. The what the bean looks like is actually what the pod looks like is actually related to the plant. Um, what is it? So the pod looked right, but when I opened them up, they were black inside in the past for some of the seed in the past. And so I didn't actually save, but you don't see that until the next year.
Ha ha!
So you can't tell from this year's seed what next year's plants will look like. But this is the only one of this species that I have planted.
Yeah, that's what to do, isn't it?
So I went back to some seed I'd had the year before. Okay, so I planted it one year, saved some seed. When I planted those, some of those were black seeded beans, which is not, these are supposed to be a mottled white bean with red markings on it, red burgundy markings on it. And when I grew it out after I'd saved seed, some of them were black. And I was like, that is not right.
Save some seed for me this year. I'm the one
Okay.
who went through all these hoops to get those bean seeds, and then I
Yes.
didn't grow them and I fobbed them off on you. We found them in
Right.
a Bean Saver website, and the agreement was we would grow it and then send back some beans to the guy who maintained the seed library. Uh,
Right.
I thought was really cool.
And I was planning on sending the seeds back the year that I got the black ones in it. And I was like,
Gotcha.
this is not stuff to send back. So I went back to my previous. When you're saving seed, you generally you plant some, but you save back some. So if you get an accidental cross, then you can go back to your original seed.
Yeah,
And so I
makes
couldn't
sense.
quite go back to my original seed because I think I started with 3 seeds.
He didn't send much, no.
No, I think you gave me 5 and 3 of them actually sprouted. And so, yeah, I grew them out. I saved seed that first year. All the seed looked right that first year. And then the next year, so I got like 100 or so seeds from that one and then planted some of them. But from those ones I planted, some of them ended up black seeded. So I've backed up and we'll see what these ones this year look like. Hopefully we're more in the ballpark of what we should have. But growing beans is interesting. Yeah, if you're interested, that the place where the Roger Newsom bean reference is heirlooms.org. That's the Appalachian, what is it called? I don't remember what it's called, but they do a lot of heirloom varieties from the Appalachians. And so they've got beans, tomatoes, I think they've got corn, a lot of different vegetables, and you can actually order seed from them. And they'll tell you where the seed came from. And so this one, I think, is more um, Virginia and Kentucky, if I remember right, with,
That makes sense because it was Berea that had a nice history of that bean.
yeah,
And heirlooms.org is for Sustainable Mountain Agriculture Center, Inc.
that's it. Yes. And so what you might want to look for is, and what I might look for is to get some that specifically say Tennessee or East. Some of them they'll even say like East Tennessee, or even the particular county that it came from. And those are potentially better adapted to here, though our temperatures have gone up. So I'm wondering if you shouldn't look for seeds that are from Georgia and Alabama, a little bit south of us. We'll see how that goes. Let's see. Okay, this is one that has done beautiful. This is a lima bean, and it's a red pole lima bean that I got at a seed swap. And it's just covered with pods, covered with flowers. Um, and it's more of a bean that you use as a dry lima bean. Very tasty and creamy when you cook it, and just very bulletproof. I'm not seeing any disease issues. I'm not seeing any insect pest issues. Just beautiful. If I were doing like a pergola, I would be tempted to put this on it because it's just so nice. And right now I'm starting to get the pods. Let me stop sharing a minute and I'll show you the pods. So this is one of the pods. And when you break it open, do that right here, you have these beautiful red lima beans. Let me get these where you can see them. Let's see. You can't see them good. Okay. Can you see them? No. Let's see. How can I hold them up where you can see them? There we go. Whoa, chopped them on my keyboard. Okay. So there's the beautiful red lima beans. And so they're not quite dry enough to store yet. So I just lay them out for a week or two to finish drying. They do shrivel up a little bit when they dry, but they plump back up when you cook them, and they're just lovely. And they're
And
just, yeah,
so I can post the resource. Are those red streak lima beans?
they are red pole lima beans,
Okay.
and I have seen them listed a couple places. If you come to the local seed swaps, I know I'm not the only one who's sharing those in our area. So at the local seed swaps, they're pretty surely going to be there in the spring. It'll be probably February or March when the seed swaps happen. And so you should be able to get some of those pretty easily at seed swaps. They might be a little bit hard to figure out just seen them listed as, they might be listed as Indian red lima beans.
Yes, I'm seeing
Mhm.
Worcester Indian red pole lima beans.
Yeah, those look the most similar. I'm not absolutely sure they're the same because I just got them in a package that was labeled red pole lima beans.
There you go.
And so when you get things at the seed swap, you might not necessarily get the name it's listed at on a seed selling platform, place that store. But that is just what, how it goes. Okay. You know what? Let me share my screen again and we can finish up the slideshow. There's not a whole lot more. Okay. And this is a plant I've talked about before. It's called the jujube or Chinese date. And I really like them. Their fruit is like the size of a date when it's matured. This is immature fruit, and this is going to be a good jujube year. Um, and they come in different shapes. This one's an oval one that grows to about the size of a date, and they have a single seed inside them that's actually similar to a date seed, but they taste like an apple pear combo. They're a little on the crisp side, and if you let them dry, they get sort of smushy, almost marshmallowy, but they're very easy to dry for storage, and they still taste good at that stage. The one couple cautions with them is they are thorny, and they grow pretty large, and they do root sucker. So they put out new babies around them. So they would be a plant that you might want to put them in a place you can mow around them, or it would be really easy to cut around them, or they'll sort of make their own area of jujube plants. Um, I have several plants that have come up with them, and they grow quite tall. And I'm trying to keep this one where I can pick it, and it is defeating me currently. So some of the fruit on it is higher than I can pick. And so I will report back and let you know what happens with that.
I think in America we're used to the jujube candy that's sold. And so when I think
Right.
of jujube, I think of it spelled Jujube, but the plant
Yeah.
apparently is Jujuba. Is that how you spell it?
I am not sure.
You grow it, you don't necessarily spell it.
Right. I am really bad at spelling. That is one of my really bad. I am
Well,
not, I
I
am
always type it out like the candy, and then I catch myself when I'm checking references that it's actually
right.
Juba.
Yeah. If you look up Chinese date, you'll also find it under that. It looks like it's Ziziphus Jujuba.
Yeah, it's got quite a name.
That's quite a name. Ziziphus. That's its binomial name. That's sort of interesting.
And it used to be Ziziphus, but they
Oh
changed
no.
it. Yes.
Yeah. So there's different varieties of it, and they said some are tend to be grown more for dehydrating, and some are grown more for fresh eating. Um, I don't know what variety I have. It was a plant that was passed along to me from a sucker that someone else had, but very tasty fruit. Um, bulletproof, but um, does try to take over an area, with the suckers. So I have not heard of it being a plant that's considered an invasive in our area. So hopefully it wouldn't be. You really don't know with plants that are brought from other countries. It is from China, from Asia. Okay. Um, Actually, another plant that's not native. This is from Europe. Um, this is a pear. Mine is a kefir pear. The plant itself is a little rough. But one thing the pears tend to do is the fruit will actually weigh down the branches And so you'll have a plant that has really drooping branches when it has fruit. Um, but I am at the place where I am testing the fruit. It's full size now. And so I'm going and gently tugging on it. And if they come off with a gentle tug, they will still be hard when you harvest them. And this one is kefir pear, so it never gets really soft, but the color will change to a more yellow color. It's more green now. So I'm going and tugging them and seeing where I am, and they're not quite ready. If you tug them and they release from the plant, um, that's when a pear is ready. And so you can store it in the refrigerator and then pull it out as you want them to ripen. So pears are really nice, but you do get a lot of fruit all at once. I grow the kefir pears because it's a pear I can deal with having 50 pounds of fruit at once because I slice it up and I dehydrate it and I really love it in that form. You can also bake it. It's a good baking pear. Makes really good apple butter and, well, pear butter. So that's what I do with it. And I do eat some of it fresh, but when you have that much getting ripe at the same time, it's hard to figure out how to use it. So I'm in the process of really making this plant smaller. Um, it had gotten up to probably close to 15, 20 feet, and I want to work to keep it around 10 feet because I have a pole where I can harvest that high. And so I'm going to work to make it a much smaller tree, and then it'll shade my vegetable garden less also. So I have multiple purposes.
I'm looking at the North Carolina Extension website, their plant toolbox, and it
Mhm.
says at least two cultivars are recommended for adequate pollination. What do you have there that keeps your tree so abundant? Do you have a second cultivar?
The kefir, some of the pears are very self-pollinating, and kefir is one of them.
They need to update that so you're not planting two of those trees in your landscape.
Well, most of the pears and apples, you do need to plant a second one for pollination, but there are a few varieties when you look at them, they will say self-fertile or even strongly self-fertile. And so the kefir is one of those. Um, it's a, they think it's a cross between an European pear and an Asian pear that happened a long time ago. And so um, it is a more unusual one. And a lot of the old pear trees that you'll see in farmsteads and at houses, a lot of them are the kefir pear because it's really a tough pear variety. Let's see. Okay, next. This is my purple hyacinth bean, and I would love it to start making flowers. The plants are growing just lovely, but no flowers yet. Oh, if you have any questions, be sure to ask because we still have some more time. Um, Another plant with a word of caution, but that's really useful and beautiful. This is garlic chives, and they have just beautiful white flowers in the fall, this time of year. And in the spring, you can actually eat the greens are really nice to eat, add to stir fries and things like that. But what'll happen, they also make really good cut flowers. They do seed readily. So they will put a lot of seed out, and you will have volunteer garlic chives everywhere if you don't cut the flowers off. If you cut the flowers off at this stage before they set seed, they make beautiful cut flowers. They are also, I think I see a pollinator on there.
You
Yes, there
can
is.
you can grow them indoors over winter. I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either. So that would be probably the greens. And so you can use them like that. Um, the garlic chives bloom toward the end of summer, and then the onion chives bloom um, pink or lavender flowers in the early spring. And then this behind them is actually a sedum, probably sedum autumn joy, which is a really nice fall plant. I think people have moved away from them because people had planted them too much. But there's other varieties of sedum that are really pretty in the fall. Oh, this is Margot's.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about my espaliered muscadine, and I wasn't too engaged in pruning this year, so it looks a bit sloppy, but it's got lots of fruit on it. And I'm growing a cultivar that was recommended for hardiness here in our zone B. We were a different zone when I started growing this, but I've been growing it for 3 years, and it's survived the terribly cold Arctic blast that we've had. We've had almost weeks period, a full week
Mhm.
when the highs were in teens or single digits even, and it's done great. It's called Noble. It was recommended to me by the extension grape and wine specialist David Lockwood is something hardy here.
Wait,
But
let me get.
what I didn't know was that it's a cultivar really meant for juice and for winemaking, and it's not the big giant fruit that I'm used to buying at farmers markets that's sugary and sticky and very sweet.
Mm,
And I'm not that happy with it. And Ison Nursery down in Georgia is the big grower of all sorts of muscadine and grape varieties. They sell them. And I've reached out to Ison to see if there is a muscadine meant for eating that would be hardy here. That's the challenge because we have been at the northernmost growing period or area for muscadines. When I moved here in 97, you had to go south to get muscadines, but I know there are growers here. They probably benefit from microclimates, but increasingly they're producing hardier muscadines. So I'm hoping to get a cultivar that would be more like I like, which would be meant for just fresh fruit eating. I hate to kill my noble. It's been a good plant, but that's where I am. And back up one slide, Amy.
mhm,
When I set out to espalier a muscadine, I had these grand visions of thick grapevine growing on my side of my house that would look cool in
mhm,
winter as well as the summer. It would just get majestic. Well, that's not what muscadines do. They grow
mm,
on new leaders every year. So the horizontal pieces, they're at the center where
mhm.
the vine grows up. There'll be a new green leader, and you cut away the old season's vine. You do that in the winter.
Oh,
So no, I don't have a grand, big, giant, gnarly grapevine at all. It's been a learning experience.
yeah. I think it looks beautiful.
It
Um,
would look better if I pruned it more. Noble is
mhm,
a really vigorous grower, though. So
uh,
I'll prune in winter, which is when you're supposed to prune, but then it gets out of hand still.
right. I
But
wonder if you could graft another muscadine onto it.
that's probably what they do down at Ison's.
Yeah.
The
And
muscadine roots grow pretty shallow compared to
mhm,
most grapevines, and so I'm hoping I can just dig it out.
yeah. Well, I'm wondering if you could just where you cut it off every year, if you could add a different muscadine to that,
That would be
yeah,
interesting.
and then you'd have that established root system that you're benefiting from.
I think that's more effort than I want to go to. And muscadine
Okay,
grows really fast.
it does. Yeah. Well, that's interesting.
But the fruit, I was having the fruit yesterday. I picked a big bowl of it.
Hmm.
And actually, it's not bad, but it's just
Yeah.
not the sugary, big, juicy ones that I prefer.
So the ones you've gotten at the farmer's market or something like that.
And growing up in Memphis, we used to go to vineyards where we would pick muscadines. And I love the ones that are slightly shriveled that are starting to
Uh-huh.
ferment. Um, so I'm used to those muscadines and grew up with them, but I've got a juicer or winemaker, and I'm involved in neither of those pursuits.
Right. Yeah, Brian.
I have a question. How resistant are those muscadines to grape black rot?
I have not had great black rot. I've had some kind of aphids on them at one point, but it was just an isolated area. And
Mhm.
looking at these leaves right here, there's some brown on the back one that might be rust, I guess. But it's as hardy as it can be. If you want a hardy one and you don't mind one that's a little bit less sweet and smaller, Noble is a great variety.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Um, oh, what am I trying to say? I've grown one called Triumph, which is a bronze fruit, not the purple.
Yeah.
And it was pretty sweet. So, I think there's a lot of variety,
I
you know.
duped myself because Lockwood also recommended a bronze, a scuppernong,
Mhm.
but I wanted purple berries on my yellow
Yeah,
house.
the Supernog, I had that for a while. I might still have it. Um, it was almost too vigorous for me to deal with in the area I had it. Um, I had big plans and was not able to follow through, and it tried to take over a fair quantity of the bed it was near.
They like to get out of hand. I've had this one
Yeah.
under my deck and trying to grow on my deck
Mhm.
rails. It's kind
Yeah.
of fun though.
Yeah. Grapevines are they have a mind of their own. Um, Especially, I don't know if it's all grapevines or just the muscadines. I think it's all grapevines.
I think so.
Yeah. But that's really cool. I've made muscadine jam, which is really good. But I probably go to more work than I ought to. Um, what is it? I cook them and mash them, and then when you mash them, the skins float to the top, and the seeds end up in the bottom mixed with everything else. And so I save the skins and I puree them, and then I run the rest of it through a food mill to get the pulp of the berry. And so it ends up like a muscadine jam. And
You got
that
to
was
get the seeds out too.
right.
Yeah.
So I ran it through the food mill to get the seeds, but I took the skins that were floating on top and pureed them, put them
Nice.
in there for just the body of it.
I eat the skins. You know, there are people
Mhm.
who eat the skins and the seeds. There's people who eat neither skins nor seeds.
Right. Yeah,
It's
Brenda says, no, thank you, grapevines. Yeah. If you have a small place, you probably don't want a grapevine or want things to be well controlled. They're a lot of work to keep under control. Um, the other thing that's really cool, pears can be espaliered, and they're really pretty.
figs can be too, and that's just where
Yeah.
I started. I wanted to do a fig, but those can interfere with a house's foundation.
Yeah, I don't think I would do fig here because here we have winters maybe every 5, 10 years where figs die to the ground. And so by the time you got your fig beautiful and espaliered, it would get killed to the ground.
Yeah, that's true. And
And
that will
so,
be the dilemma I'll face if they don't have a sweet variety that is really hardy here. I may stick
yeah.
with Noble.
Hmm. Yeah. And, with pears and apples, there's definitely plenty that are hardy here. But they're a little bit different espalier techniques. I'm going to stop sharing the screen and what is it? If anyone out there has any questions, we would gladly answer them. And oh, I wanted to bring up something, and I'm going to look for a photo if I can find it. From a year or two ago, we've had a couple people show photos of their oak trees that have oak worms on them. And several years ago, when my oak tree that's in the front yard got hit with, they're called, what are they called? Um, Orange striped oak worms, and they're a real common um, oak tree caterpillar. And they ate all the leaves off of my young tree.
Oh no.
I was going to try to find the picture of it. And I contacted Lee Rumble. He's one of our extension agents, and he's an arborist. So he knows about trees. And I asked him, and I'm trying to remember when it was. So I think it was 2012, probably, and it would have been right around now. Yes, found the pictures. Okay, so I'll just go ahead and share my screen again. So, and we definitely had someone in the group talk about this, that they're, you know, taking all the foliage. So this is my
Right.
oak tree, and this is August 21st of 2022. So my oak tree that had been full of foliage was looking like this, and look at all these caterpillars all over it. Just, I think they ate every leaf off of it before they were done. And I contacted Lee. These little things that you see that look like dead caterpillars are actually the sheds from when they molted. Every time they get
Ooh.
bigger, they shed their skin and it so that it stayed attached. So those were just hollow skins. And so this is the, this orange striped oakworm. Can you see where they got their name?
And they're so big, they're so gross.
Right. And so they were about done eating at this point, and you could literally hear them chewing on the tree,
Oh
chewing on the
man.
leaves. And so I contacted Lee, and he said, by this time of the year, the tree will be fine.
Yeah.
If it had happened in June when it was just putting out its leaves, it would have hurt it. But at this time of year, the tree will be fine, and the tree's been fine.
Yeah.
And I noticed this year it's big enough that we have had oakworms probably on one branch of it. And they probably ate just as many leaves, but the tree's that much bigger this year. Oh, that's old. Um, but just and by the time you're seeing them, they're almost done. They are important food for the birds in our area. Nearly all birds need caterpillars to feed their young when they're chicks. And so the caterpillars are important bird food. And oak trees are actually the hosts for many, many caterpillars that are important to our songbirds surviving. So if you have had the oak worms on your tree, just recently, you don't need to do anything about it. You might not have them next year, but as the tree grows, they'll be able to eat the leaves that they need, and you're not even going to notice it unless you're really looking regularly. But when the tree is young, it can do this. But just wanted to mention that because I saw the posts in the group about the oak worms, and it's how do I kill it? And sometimes when we see pest insects, the best thing to do is nothing.
Right.
You know, they'll have their lifespan and then they'll be done. And so that's one of the things with the oak worms and many of the plants that have caterpillar pests are adapted to it. Another one is the passion flower vine. It's not unusual for the passion flower vine to host caterpillars of the Gulf fritillary butterfly. And it can take all the leaves off of a plant in the summer and it'll just regrow them. The plant is adapted to that, to being eaten by the caterpillar. Another than one, yeah. Yes, Brian. Did you have
I'm
something?
sorry. I was following along. I want you to finish up what you were
Oh, okay.
saying right here.
Yeah.
But one thing else, I just wrote about it last night for our welcome post. People tend to get tend to overreact to
Mhm.
lichen
Oh,
on
lichens?
a tree,
Yeah.
or branches. And in my comments, I said, well, if you look around you, you'll find lichen growing on your mailbox,
Hmm.
on power lines, and everything else. It is
Yes.
just hitching a ride.
Right. And they're actually a sign of pretty decent air quality too.
Yep.
So if you have really bad air quality, you won't have lichens. Um, Now, one thing is if they are forming on the branches, on the tops of the like the inner branches of the tree, they could be an indicator that your tree
Yes.
is
Yes.
declining. They're not causing it.
Right. Just an indicator.
They're an indicator that more sunlight is getting through to those areas than
Yep.
was getting through before. So they can be an indicator that your tree is declining, but they're not the cause of it.
Right.
Yeah. So, we'll see that on sometimes on like azaleas if they're getting too much sun. If you had a tree that was shading the azalea and the tree died or you had it removed and now your azalea is getting more sun, sometimes you'll get lichens or even moss on the branches of the azalea.
Yep.
That's because it's getting more sun in there than it was before.
Yep.
It's not necessarily a problem with the azalea
Right.
itself. Well, it
Exactly.
is that it's stressed, so it doesn't have as good a leaf canopy on it. Let's see, what are other things that have been regular questions in the group?
Nut sedge.
Oh, nut sedge. Oh, hi,
I'm
Kathy.
And
I'm glad you can join us. So what do people do for nut sedge?
um right now it's getting to, a little bit late. Um, but pre-treating for nut sedge, I think we're just a little bit, like about a week or so late for this year. But there are at least two different products uh, that you can use. And if you follow the label directions while we still have good days, you can use these products for spot treating.
Mm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
it's one thing if you've got a hard time fork, you can dig and loosen these up, but you definitely don't want to pull these out unless you get the nutlet underneath the
Mm.
soil. And that, if you don't get that, you've just created what, two, three more plants
So you've got
from that right
babies in
there.
there.
Right. Yeah. But Image is one popular brand. It's available on commercial and homeowner formulas. The other one
Okay.
is called Sledgehammer.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't want to wait too late treating these. But my lady friend, I was helping her mow the other day, and she's got nut sedge in her yard.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, it's a really common problem around here. And what is it? They're lighter yellow, lighter green than the regular grass, and they grow really fast.
right. And if you grab the base of the plant and don't pull on the plant, but rather run your fingers on it, it's
Hmm.
triangular shaped as opposed
Okay.
to flat.
So it's got
So,
sedges have edges.
yep. Hmm.
That's what yeah.
I tried checking me because I think I'm a nut.
Oh.
Uh, not
I could
sedge
say
or
something,
something.
but that would be
I'm
not
sorry. Let me.
good.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Let me turn my ears up here. What? I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No, I'm not gonna say it.
guys,
I'm. I'm.
we're at
You're
the top of the
guilty
hour.
already. Yes. Okay.
Okay.
There
Oh,
you
it's
go.
10 o'clock. I can't believe it's 10 o'clock already. Um, if you have any questions through the week, you can post them in the Knoxville Area Gardening Tips Facebook group, or you can put them in this post. We do monitor it through the week. And what is it? It's been great talking to you all, and hope you're having a good time in your garden. So happy gardening, y'all. Bye, everyone.
Bye bye.
Oh, I hit the wrong button. Now it's going to take
Uh-oh,
another button.
we're still
Okay.
live.